Project for today is going to be continuing on this Craftsman lawn utility vehicle. On the last one we got it running and driving, but there was still a few things we needed to do. It needs a service. I never did clean the air filter and change the oil in it. We're missing some bolts and stuff on like this guard here for the exhaust, and I did end up throwing a battery in it, so that we have to put this back on and we got to clean it up a little bit. But I think the best thing is going to be putting these snowblower tires on the rear, because if you wanted to be using this for like a utility vehicle like it is, those lawn tires like that are going to get no traction if you're going on hills and stuff. Plus they're pretty wore out, it looks like, tread wise. So it's got this dump bed on the back, so if you wanted to use it for just hauling stuff for gardening or something, that does dump if you tip it back like that, if you're hauling something. And then we need to clean out under there. Obviously it looks kind of messy under there, so I'll get you set up and we'll get started. First thing I'm going to tackle, I mentioned it in the other video, but there's a bushing in this wheel that's bad, so it's leaning to the one side. I can find a spot to jack it off. Oh, it's okay. You can see it's really wobbly, so we'll try to put a new bushing in there. And then I think this side, yeah, that side's not bad, but we'll grease it up too. So it's just got looks like a pin through it. Doesn't really look like the correct one. I'm not sure how they barely could get that in there. I'll put a correct cotter key in there. So this bushing here, that one doesn't look too bad. So I wonder if it's this. Well, the outer one is missing. It doesn't even have anything in there. So it should have another bushing like that on this side. It just wouldn't have that piece sticking out. You can see there was no grease in there either. So yeah, it's worn out on that side, so we'll see if we can get a bushing put in there. So a little piece of the bushing is still in there. Knock that out. You can see it's just a little plastic bushing. It was just so worn out on the end, I couldn't even tell it was there. So you might be able to actually just flip it around, because this end seems like it's okay. It's just that it was worn out on the very end. So I might try that just to see what it does, if I can get it to go in there. Oh, it's still pretty loose. So I'll have to find something new to put in there. So I found a bushing in my stash of stuff, and that fits on there good. We'll pound that in. And then put the one on the back side. I'll take a wire wheel, clean up this axle, and then we'll put some grease on there, and we'll put the correct pin through there. So I got the axle cleaned up okay, and then we'll smear some grease on it. I don't think this had been greased in a long time from the looks of it. I'll slide this on there. Oh, it's a lot tighter. The steering is a little bit loose, I think. But that should be fine for what it is. And we'll I don't know if I'll reuse this clip. I guess it does fit in there, so. Well, maybe I won't. I don't know if I can get it back out of there. I don't even really know. It looks like they cut the end off of a regular clip, so I'll just get a cotter key or split pin and put in there. We'll just put that pin through there. I think that's probably what it was supposed to have in the first place anyway, so. There we go. And I'll take the other side off and grease that and put a new pin through it, and then we'll be done with the front wheels. This one looks like it's got just a piece of wire or something through it. I really hate it when people do this, because then it's not something that's easy to bend. It makes it more difficult to get it out of there. But I guess they're just using what they had. And this washer is, it's got a lip here where that pin was rubbing. That one's pretty rusty too. Kind of a pretty cheap setup. You can see where it's got a gap here, and then it's just tack welded on the back on each side of that. So I'll run the wire wheel on that and clean that up too. Now that we've got the front wheel situated, I'll move on to the back. See if these are pretty rusted, so I'm hoping that they come off of there. But putting those snowblower tires on there should really change the look of this thing, make it a little more usable off-road. There we go. That one is pretty rusted too. And we'll pop the other side off, and then we'll get started changing tires. I have to get something to hit on that one. One thing I've done to bust these loose is I put the bolt back in without the washer on it, and then hit in on the axle a little bit. There's a little bit of play in there, so sometimes that'll break it loose. We'll try that, see if that does anything. I don't know if that did anything or not. I did notice the sound changed a little bit. That's sometimes a good sign. But we don't have any wiggle. There was a little bit of wiggle in the other wheel. I don't think we're moving. I'll have to soak that in a little penetrating oil and see if we can get it to break free. So I've been soaking it and hitting on it for a while, and I haven't been able to get it to budge, so I'm going to try heating it up a little bit. I don't think she's moving. Heating side of it now. A lot more of that goes onto the axle than out the front here. I don't think we moved at all. So I've been fighting with this for a while, and I was finally able to get it to move a little bit. I got the air hammer on the back side of it. So hopefully now we should be able to get it the rest of the way. So you can see I kind of messed up the back side of the rim where it goes on the axle here, but that stuff really doesn't matter a heck of a lot on the back. It's the front side has the squared off edge that actually hooks on the axle, where you can see the flat spot in the axle, which it's still pretty hot. I was heating that up quite a bit. You got to be kind of careful when you're heating up tires like rims like this, because you're gonna end up starting the tire on fire, or it can build a lot of pressure of air in the rim too. So I did let some air out of it before I started heating on it. But now we'll be able to get started changing tires, and we'll definitely clean those up when we put it back together. So I just got the tires set up in this, it's a Harbor Freight mini tire changer. It's got the little bead breaker up top here, and then I've just got it clamped into the vise. It does come with a base, you can bolt it down, but I'd rather have it mobile, so I just clamp it in the vise every time I need to use it. And then you just pull down like that. You can break the bead on it. So I'm not going to bore you with breaking all the beads on camera, so I'll just continue on doing all these, and then we'll come back and we'll record changing the actual tires. So I could take them off on that Harbor Freight tire changer, but I'd just rather do them this way with tire spoons. Is just always seemed easier to me. If you want a video on actually how to change a tire like this, I'll put one up in the corner. It's the John Deere 316 tire upgrade video. I kind of go through it more in depth on how to change them and stuff. It's not too difficult, as long as you can get the beads broke is the hardest thing. And this one's got a tube in it, which I think I'll put back in on this one, just because we beat on that rim and we might have bent it a little bit where it might not seal real good. Get a hammer. I'm going to clean that up a little bit, and then we'll throw the snowblower tire on it. I cleaned up the rim a little bit, and we'll start putting the tire on. don't recommend this method for seating the beads, but this one's being very stubborn, so I wrapped a ratchet strap around it. We're gonna see if that'll work to pop the beads back up. Well, that worked. But you can kind of see why it's dangerous. It gets that ratchet strap gets stretched so tight as soon as it starts to seat the beads and air up. So you gotta be careful it doesn't end up snapping your ratchet strap. But we finally got that one. Now we'll clean up the axles and throw them on. I'm gonna put a little anti-seize on these axles so next time they come off a little bit easier. They really should come with this from the factory, but they don't. That's why a lot of them are stuck on there, because you don't usually take them off until you have a problem, which can be quite a few years down the road. Put it in here. This is the one we hit on with the air hammer, so might have a little bit of a burr. We got one of them. We'll do the other side. Alright, I think that made for a lot better look on the thing, like a mini truck here now. It is very small. I don't know if that shows up on camera until I'm actually driving it, but it is really tiny. But it'd still be good for somebody for gardening and stuff, hauling around pots and that kind of thing. It's almost like a little powered wheelbarrow. So next thing I'll do is I'll fire it up for a little bit, and then we'll get it warmed up so we can change the oil in it. And I have to put that cover back on. It's on here, I just have to put the 3 bolts in it for holding this cover on, and clean that air filter, and then we'll clean it up a little bit so it looks a little bit more presentable, and then we'll go test it out. So rather than trying to drain the oil out, I'm just going to suck it out with this oil extractor. I've had it on the channel a few times. If you're looking for one, I just got it on eBay. Was like 130 bucks. You can get smaller ones and they're not quite as expensive, but it works good on stuff like this where there's not a real easy way to drain it. Or some of the wood splitters nowadays, they come with no drain plug, and they say no oil changes ever, which I highly recommend that you don't listen to that. Because no matter how good of oil you have in something, it's always going to get contaminated with stuff, especially when you're running it in the kind of conditions that small engines run in. So after 30-40 hours of use, you're going to see the oil is going to be really black. So I don't know how they figure you could go without changing it. Especially they only hold a half a quart, a lot of them. Well, we got that sucked out of there, now we'll fill it back up. I'm just using a straight 30 weight oil. I buy it in bulk, so it's just put it in these containers. So it's not actually the John Deere oil. It should hold a half a quart. We'll see where that gets us. That should be pretty close to the full mark on a half a quart. So half a quart got us right to the full mark there. So now we got that done, we'll pop that air cleaner off of there. I'll clean that, and then we'll probably blow the rest of this off with some compressed air and get it cleaned up a little bit. I'll get that blown out, put that back on. The air cleaner actually wasn't that bad. I might have did that last time. Just didn't remember blowing that out, so I thought I would check it. This can be kind of hard to line up. Then we got a couple of bolts missing on this bracket down here for the, or actually it's just the exhaust shield. I think I got the right bolts here. And this one was probably just like a sheet metal type screw, but try putting that one in there. That's a lot better. One less thing to rattle. And then there was a seat spring there that I need to tighten down. Got that done. Now I think we're ready to take it outside and clean it up a little bit. Well, I think it cleaned up pretty good, but I don't like this duct tape on the seat. So I'll put some black duct tape on it at least so it looks a little bit better than that gray stuff. It looks a little better. Still not perfect, but it's better than that gray duct tape on there. So I got it out back here. I'll see if I can climb this ramp I built. If you watch the video where I moved all my parts snow blowers and all this dirt up here with the skid steer, you'll know that this dirt is super soft. So I'm just curious if this thing will walk up it with those new tires on there. And then if it'll do that, I'm pretty sure if somebody did want to just use it for hauling, if you pulled that deck off so you got a lot of ground clearance, it would actually go through quite a bit, being it's so light. So I'll get you set up and we'll see if I can make it up that. Well, I almost made it. I just don't have the ground clearance. It was rubbing the deck on the ground and getting caught. That's what was hanging me up, I think. But that was just something for fun. I don't think anybody'd ever actually try to take it on stuff like this, but being just, I think it's a one-wheel wonder too. It's only got the open diff, so it's not gonna pull that good up the hill, especially in sandy clay mix like that. So well, that's gonna do it for this one. If you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.